Homeowners generally know that the kitchen is one of the most expensive rooms in the whole house to renovate, which is often why it ends up looking just like this. But what if I said to you facelift instead of full renovation? You'd get away with it for about 1/10 of the cost in a fraction of the time and with a lot less mess. Well, this is a pretty good candidate, don't you think? So let's give it a go. If you are painting your kitchen, the most important thing to remember is to prep super well. You need to make sure that everything is thoroughly clean and to take out any gunk between the tiles and also the bench top. Great little tool like this, it's a scraper. Now the next thing here, because I am painting the bench tops, is to take out the sink. Just take some sugar soap and water, give everything a really good wash down and make sure to rinse it well. But trust me, cleaning is the most important step when you're going to paint your cupboards, your bench tops and your tiles. Otherwise your paint just won't stick properly. If you have a tiled splashback like this that's in good order, i.e. none of the tiles are actually coming off and it's nice and sound, you can actually paint over them. Especially if you've got old feature tiles like this one, because they're what really do date a kitchen. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a 400 grit sandpaper. It's putting really tiny fine scratches, which is what's going to help the paint to stick. If you don't love your kitchen cupboard doors, well, why not paint them? It's a pretty easy job, and I find it easier if they're outside, away from the cabinet, laid out flat. These ones are solid timber. All they need is a light sand just to go through the varnish. That basically scratches it up and helps the primer and the paint to stick. Make sure they're dust-free before you go on with the painting. With this particular paint, you don't always need a primer, but because I'm working on raw timber, I basically don't want any staining to come through my top coat colour, which is white. So as an insurance policy, I've just gone in with a stain blocker sealer. You can buy this in spray or brush-on form. For the tiles, I'm using exactly the same paint as I used for the bench top, only this time in fresh, clean white. This is the part I always love, the big reveal. How much better do these benches look than those bottle green ones that we had before? Amazing. Living life like it's supposed to be. Live it up, why don't you? This is the same sink that came out of the kitchen. It's just had a good polish up, looks brand new. Along with the paint, changing this old vinyl floor is going to make a huge difference to the kitchen. Now the flooring really doesn't have to be that expensive. You have lots of options that are budget friendly and also DIY friendly. So what I'm going to do is replace this loose lay vinyl with vinyl planks that look like timber. To stick the new floor down effectively, I need to seal this off. So what I've got here is a sealer that you can use for concrete, just in a ratio of about 1:4. Now a roller is the easiest way to put it on. It'll take about 20 minutes to dry. You need to do this if you're going to seal off concrete effectively. Calling me up at the top of the morning, told me he left your heart for dead. If it's a new kitchen floor you're after and you love the look of timber, this is such a great product. As you can see, it's super easy to lay yourself. This one is called Pecan. It's almost a mid-grey and it ties well with our new bench top colour. And because you're meant to emulate the look of a real timber floor, you want to stagger them as you go. Those little boys will cause you hell. Storage is always an issue in kitchens, especially tiny ones, so you want to make use of every bit of available space. Now that little tiny bit by the side of the fridge, but you can actually reclaim it and create a small cupboard that will house brooms and mops and other bits and pieces. I've just got some off-the-shelf pine. This is a standard width and they can actually cut it to length for you. So if you mark it all up and then screw it together, that forms the outer frame. That's one cute little cupboard that's going to come in very handy for extra storage in the kitchen. And if you're wondering why one of the doors is slightly bigger than the other one, well, I've got a plan for that. You'll have to see it when the kitchen comes together. The cupboard we built has been painted white and installed, and it looks right at home as an end cap for the fridge, handy storage. Here's the surprise. Instead of painting both doors plain white to match the rest of the kitchen, we've used chalkboard paint instead. It's a really easy idea. You can do it with any of your kitchen doors. Actually made this door useful because it can be a shopping list and an area for the kids to play all in one. easy pace over several weekends, a kitchen transformation like this is totally achievable. I think what I like most is we haven't had to make any of the big mess or do the full rip out. The kitchen has been in full working order throughout. Now, in terms of budget, I did say around $1,500, which is pretty light on for a new look kitchen. So let's see how we went. Well, all up, we ended up spending around $1,100. That's for the paint, the flooring, the timber and incidentals. I reckon that is an amazing result, don't you?
When you spend more time at home, those boring walls you've been ignoring for years can start to look 100 times worse. But changing one wall can make a huge difference to an entire room or outdoor space. So I've got 3 cool ways to add a bit of timber and a whole lot of impact. I'm at the front of a 70s brick house, and I think this brick wall is going to be perfect for our timber feature wall. It's going to break up these old bricks and really make this entrance more inviting. The material I'm using is some Merbau decking boards, which you can get at any hardware store. For this timber screen, instead of keeping these boards all 90mm and being your standard repetitive screen, I'm going to rip these in half. That way I can stagger between 90mm and 42mm. You might think that 42 is not half of 90, but by the time you take the thickness of the blade away, you end up with 42. The last thing to do before I get these boards on is to give it a good coat of oil. That way you can get in between the gaps and it makes it nice and easy. Surely by now we're ready to get this screen built. By the magic of TV, look how quick I can do it. How quick was that? And you can see by using the natural oil how the different colour variations in the timber just pop. You can see that we've taken this plain entrance, which was basically just a brick wall, and by adding timber, we've added warmth and colour and given it a real contemporary look, which is definitely up the ante of the street appeal of this house. Now, what if we borrowed the idea behind this outdoor feature wall and apply it to create a fresh look for the bedroom? A similar vibe, but with a twist. The backing colour that I'm using on this wall is called Domino. You can see it's a nice dark colour, and that's going to allow our feature timber to really pop. All right, while the paint dries, it's time to get onto the feature timber wall. I'm using this beautiful hardwood timber. And you can see by using the right blade how smooth this cut ends up being. All right, now I've got all my boards cut to the widths that I'm happy with. A good tip here is just to coat both edges before you put it up, because obviously we painted our backing board black and we don't want to have to cut into it. All right, we're ready to get this timber on the wall. I've decided to run it vertically. The trick here is to make sure that you stagger where you put your nails. If you put them all in a straight line, when you're putting them up and you finish and you step back, it's just going to stand out. For the setup, there's no real science to it. It's basically whatever you grab, you put up. As long as you don't have all the thick ones in a row and all the thin ones, then you're going to be all right. And that is a pretty good looking feature wall, if I do say so myself. Another bedroom, but something special. So this wall's going to be the backing for our feature wall, and I'm after a nice crisp white. And then we can get started with the timber work. And we're ready to start getting this timber on the wall. First up, I need to get a perimeter all the way around. Shape of our ladder frame, I'm just using this bit of timber, which makes sure that I'm staying square to the first bit that we put up, but also it gives me consistent gaps between the rungs. And it's important to make sure when you're putting on your timber that you glue behind it, because you're not going to pick up a stud each time. I'm going to run some pieces going parallel with this ladder frame now, but one thing I am making sure is that I'm going to keep the same spacing throughout. That way, this feature wall will just flow. And on this side of the ladder, I've decided to go with sort of a chevron pattern. So from this corner, there'll be arrows that are working their way back to the wall. And that's the best thing about this design. You can really do any pattern you like. You just have fun with it. Ta-da! There you have it, my 3D work of art is complete. I think this looks amazing. Now I just need to fill the nail holes and do a quick touch-up with some paint. Dull and boring is what this room used to be, but I think you would have to agree with this new 3D feature wall. It is far from that. It looks awesome. And I'll tell you what, breakfast in bed will be on the cards more often.